All right, so there's this document that came out or got snuck out or whatever, how to succeed in MrBeast production. And I printed it out right here, gone through it, read it, and I'm going to go through this with Aaron. We're going to talk through a bunch of this. It's a long episode, but I think you're going to get a lot out of this. But I'm going to say you want to remove any bias that you might have or that you might have seen or whatever about Jimmy Donaldson, who is the MrBeast guy. I don't even really know a whole lot about him. I just know that I read this document. Now, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube and whatever coming out about him. There's a lot of haters, a lot of stuff. I don't even want to get into that. What I'm saying is that we want to look at this and remove all of that and take this at face value. And I think you're going to find that there's a lot of really good stuff in here for you to learn from. So let's get into it.
Welcome to the Warrior Mindset Podcast. We're your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk that path.
All right, man. So this document was uncovered. I don't know. You just said you haven't really been following the MrBeast stuff.
Not at all.
I don't even want to go into it, so that this will be as pure as it could be.
Okay.
But this document dropped. I printed it out because I'm old school. Yep. So how to succeed in MrBeast production.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So what caught me with this is that this thing dropped, and then I saw a few other content creators or whatever you want to call them, and they're kind of like pooping on it. And there's a lot of other reviews of it where they just kind of read it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to just read it. I want you to give me your opinion on it, and I want to kind of shoot the shit about it, because I think there's some really good stuff in here. And if you are able to separate a lot, which you say you don't even know, but like you separate a lot of the recent MrBeast drama. And, I really haven't paid a lot of attention to him over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, you know who he is, right?
I know who he is.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not?
But the truth is like, I've maybe watched 1-2 videos.
I can't watch his videos. They drive me crazy.
Yeah. And like, I think the most I've ever watched of something with him is when he was on Joe Rogan like 2 years ago or something.
Oh, he was on Joe Rogan?
Yeah, it was a great interview.
Oh, wow.
It was really interesting to kind of get insights. But the thing is like, then I was like, oh, well, then I'll watch one of the videos. And I'm like, actually, I don't really have to.
Yeah.
I
think they're engineered for young people, like very young.
Sure.
The way they're edited and stuff. But anyway, the point with him is that, I mean, he is the largest online media presence, producer, creator,
right,
YouTuber. I mean, he's got more subscribers than like CNN and MSNBC and everything combined.
Or you.
Or me. I mean, it's like, it's ridiculous, the level that they're performing at, right? It's just different. And so, I saw this document was leaked, or it's like, he said some bleed from employees, like they're leaving, like they're not happy. And so they're leaving and stuff, but you can get into that later. But, so, they're like sharing all documents and everything. And I don't think this is it's official in that, he wrote it, he distributed it to his employees.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is what a lot of people are saying it is. I don't think it's like an employee manual. I think it reads more like a manifesto.
I was gonna say manifesto,
kind of like, this is what I think you need to do to be successful here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, legally, I think that's probably a legal employee document. You know what I mean? So there's some people saying that some stuff in here can get them in trouble, or they can use it for, wrongful dismissal and stuff like that. But I'm not a lawyer, so I don't freaking know. But I thought some of it was pretty good.
Same.
I thought some was pretty good.
I enjoyed it. There's one when you sent it to me, there was one thing that I highlighted and sent back to you, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'll wait till we get into it, but I was like, huh, well, that's a very interesting way of thinking it.
I know.
But also, I mean, I'll go ahead and start off. I don't know what the controversies are. I don't really.
It doesn't
care.
matter. It's
I mean,
irrelevant.
like, guess what? Do you think everybody's happy about when they've been employed by you and then they
no.
leave? No.
No, of course not.
Do you think that they've been happy when they
Right.
were employed by me and left? No.
Right.
Okay. That's how the world works.
Yeah.
Like, and do I have a different opinion of how I see something versus how you see it as the entrepreneur?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
let's start with that premise that not everybody's going to see things the same way. And
No, they're not.
if you're leaving because if you quit because you're pissed off about something,
Mhm.
well, something brought you to that point.
Mhm.
If you were fired because of something that happened,
Yeah, whatever.
then something brought
It's
you
another
to that
issue.
point.
Yeah.
Right. And the truth is, like, I don't know where he's incorporated, but South Carolina is a right to work state.
Yeah, I don't know where it's incorporated either. I know he's from North Carolina.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty if he's working out of there, then it's the right to work state too.
Yeah.
So if you don't
Yeah.
like how I do business and I don't want you to work here anymore,
Yeah, and so there's a lot of we'll get.
Sure.
I think we'll wind up having some conversation over some of that as we go through it, because there seems to be a lot of I don't even know how to put it, like misunderstanding on the relationship between this an employee and the boss.
sure.
I say that as a company, like I don't even have employees, in the 3 companies that I'm running right now. It's just me and, I have a couple of partners that work
Right.
in there. Like, that's not true. We have some employees in one, but it's not that type of thing anymore. And
Yeah.
you and I have worked together, and we both work for creative companies.
Mhm.
We were when we worked together in my web design company, it was creative,
Right.
commercially creative. We produced conferences, so we produced events and
Okay.
had to be creative. We worked with a creative team to
Mhm.
create things that I think were industry. I don't want to toot my own horn, but like industry defining in a certain sense.
They were for a certain amount of time. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, for a year or two. But the things we did to get the word out, being creative, and how we utilized our team and our money and stuff like that, which we'll get into in here,
Yeah.
I think. And I think one of the bigger thing, and all of that sort of wrapped up in that, if you're an employee at a company, you are an employee. You don't own the company. You don't,
Right.
you don't have the same. You cannot expect the same treatment almost as the owner has.
Agreed.
Like, it's because they're the owner, they're the creator, they're the one that started it. Like, are you a partner? No. Well, then you're an employee, and I think there's a level of expectation there.
Mhm.
The other thing to keep in mind, I think, is if you do go out and look at this on your own, or you're following along with us, is that Jimmy, MrBeast, his name's Jimmy, that he runs the most creative, largest, most reach, media channel on the planet.
Right.
Like, it's the best. There isn't anything else. Like, there's nothing above it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, so I think there's that reality too. Like, you're playing in the NFL.
Mhm.
You're on the Super Bowl team in the NFL.
You're the 1%
They have
of the 1%.
very high standards
Yeah.
for how well you play
Right.
on the Super Bowl winning team in the NFL. Like, you're the top.
Right.
So I think the expectations are going to be a little bit different
Mhm.
than working at McDonald's. I'm just using a comparison.
Yeah.
There's different planets. All right. That was a lot. All right. So the whole to set that up, he has this whole prelude. I'm not going to read it. There's enough people on the internet reading this, so you can go. I'll link it up if I can, if it's still there. But he has a little thing here. What is your goal? Your goal here is to make the best YouTube videos possible. Period.
Mhm.
Like, that's a pretty big charge.
Yeah. I like the fact that,
And he means it.
I like the next sentence, if I remember it, not the funniest.
Yeah,
Right?
not the funniest, not the flashiest, not the best looking, but like the best. Yeah. So whatever that is, there's a lot implied in that sentence, I
Mhm.
think, if you're paying attention. all right, I don't care how traditional media does things, you know, he's got a lot of bluntness in this.
There's nothing wrong with that, because guess what? That's exactly what's been going on
Yeah,
for
I mean,
like the past 15, 20
he's
years.
not like everyone else, you know,
Mhm.
and I think he's setting the tone. I would, if I were working somewhere, I think I would like the person in charge to really identify our mission.
Mhm.
And I feel like through the first couple of pages of this thing, he really identified the mission. Like, it's
Agreed.
pretty damn clear why you're here. The amount of hours you work is irrelevant.
Mhm.
Before you get mad, recall the story. He talks about a story about this guy. These people were trying to solve this problem
This is the word
in
with
like
the
a
X.
week, and they couldn't. And one dude stepped in and did it in like 5 minutes.
Right. That's the know where to put the X.
Yeah, right.
Story.
Yeah, what is that? Yeah,
Yeah.
the
That's why I get paid $10,000.
yeah.
And yeah,
It took me 30 minutes to put the thing in the right spot, but
Right.
30 years to know where to put it.
exactly.
Yeah, right. I think the big thing that sticks with people is this part, and this is the part you sent me back. I only want A players.
Mhm.
You know, he says, it's probably not wise to categorize everyone in 3 buckets, but you're either an A player, B player, or a C player. There's only room in this company for A players. A players are obsessive, learn from mistakes, coachable, intelligent, don't make excuses, believe in YouTube, see the value in this company, are the best in the goddamn world at their job.
Mhm.
And then B players are essentially people we're training to be A players.
Mhm.
And then C players are just average employees. They don't suck, but they aren't exceptional at what they do. They just exist, do whatever, and get a paycheck. They aren't obsessive, I assume, about learning. C players are poisonous and should be transitioned to a different company immediately. And then in parentheses, he has, it's okay. We give everyone severance. They'll be fine. What do you think of that after you first? Because I think you sent that back to me like
Yeah.
immediately.
That's the thing that resonated with me. That so I guess my question would be, first of all, like, who takes it? Is there anybody taking I don't know, having issues with that particular statement? Because you know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're the C players.
Yeah.
That's who has problems. But it's
Yeah.
it's, you know, in our society we celebrate mediocre.
Yeah.
Would you agree or disagree?
I agree.
Yeah. And
That's one of the things I teach my sons is that, you know, I'm like, I coach them all the time. I'm saying, like, look, just pay attention to the details, do the best you can, and you're probably ahead of like 90% of people.
I you know, with my running journey that I've had, I saw a video yesterday, or a reel or something like that.
Mhm.
And God, now I sound old. Anyway, I was on the IG looking at reels, and one came up that I've seen before that I finally saved, and it starts out with saying, you know, do you think you suck at running? And then it says the average, or what is it? Only 7% of people in the world actually run.
Yeah.
So you're in the top 7%.
Right. Makes sense.
And then it's like, there's some other statistics, and then it's like, you know, the average median time for a male runner is 30 minutes for a 5K. And, you know,
that's the
not
average.
the fastest in the world, and I don't, you know, run with the you know 18-year-old boys.
Your 5K time's faster than 30 minutes, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But and then, you know, it's like the 10K, you know, average time is like, but and only like 6% of people, you know, have ever run a 10K.
Right.
And then, you know, like 0.018 people will run a marathon this year. And that's actually what I'm training for at the end of the year now.
Sick.
So, you know, I look at that and I go, that's not mediocre. I thought
that's not mediocre at all.
I thought that I was pretty mediocre in my running,
mm-hmm.
because I'm 50. You know, I used to run in the Army, broke my back,
mm-hmm.
not always feeling it. You know, got back into it, enjoying it. I'm running a 10K in New York this weekend, and so I'm really, you know, enjoying this journey again. but I thought it was pretty mediocre. And then I see something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy shit. So, I go back to like, we celebrate mediocre. It's, I think it's a little more than the everybody gets a participation trophy.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the, I don't know. It's everything that you see online. It's everything that you see on social media. Yeah, I would even say that like the social influencers now that, they all do the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's, and then you see the, somebody going, oh, I'm doing this trend. And like actually stating,
it's the same
overtly,
shit.
I'm doing this trend.
Right.
And, and to me, that's just mediocre.
Yeah.
He, from what I understand, again, not somebody who follows his work closely, but what I've read about, what I listened to, the things that I do understand about him is he doesn't celebrate mediocrity. He doesn't want to do exactly what everybody else is doing. And so the people that have problems with a statement like that are the people that,
My bad. I was going to pull up a comment. I agree with you, man. 100%.
Yeah. And so that, the statement of A and B players, like, well, the truth is I also like the fact that he says that B players are people that were training to be A players. Like that is the fact that he has thought that through. And I'm just going to keep saying he in this instance and not their company or anything, because it's his manifesto. Then, like he's thinking of how, not everybody starts there. Not everybody is, top of their game, but you want them to eventually be there, and we need to figure out a way to get them there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people who don't want to get there, those are the, it's the, you can't fix stupid. Like those are the people that never want to get there. They're comfortable where they are. They and take a paycheck. They're mediocre. That's okay. It is okay to be mediocre, because guess
not
what?
at that company.
Not at that company.
That's why I said that filter. It's like it is the top performing YouTube creator ever in existence and currently ever. I mean, like his videos like months out get more views than like anything you'll ever create. Like he's the top. So you cannot be mediocre in that scenario.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like the NFL scenario of you're in the Super Bowl. You can't be a mediocre player.
Right. And you know where he actually starts? It kind of goes back, and he says it in that one statement about YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And he also says, make the best YouTube videos. He doesn't say, the best like social media stuff.
Yeah.
The most, influencer-y stuff. It is very, when you niche down and say that this is me, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going to be, you get much better at what you're doing, I think, because you stop being a generalist and you know how to focus.
Yep.
And so, extrapolate that into what he said. Like he made sure that statement believes in YouTube. Mm-hmm. What if YouTube goes away?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's fucked.
Well, right. He is.
But he's putting all his time and energy into building on somebody else's platform. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm going to do that, then it better be the best. Mm-hmm. Right?
100%.
And so, like I don't have I don't know where the problems are, but I don't have a problem with that statement. I think that is probably actually pretty inflammatory against, 80% of the population.
I think so too. I think a lot of people don't understand it.
Yeah.
I think they don't understand what it means to be a high performer. In terms of, I don't mean that in the Wall Street vernacular. Right. I mean like being the most creative in the world. Mm-hmm. There's pressure. Yeah. I think they're responding to, well, that implies a lot of pressure in your job, and
oh my God.
You're comparing it to the jobs you've had. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I know that all I have in my life is to compare things to the things I've done. I get it. But I'm also aware enough to know that there's some big shit in the world I have never done.
Right.
I've never thrown a Super Bowl touchdown.
I'm sorry.
But you know what I mean? Like, come on, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think people are,
because your team's never going to make it to the Super Bowl.
hey,
with
they're doing
Darnold.
well this year.
I know. That's pretty good.
The Vikings won
With the
3 in a row.
backup of a backup of a backup.
Yeah, Sam Darnold's doing a good job, man. There's a bunch of stuff in here about YouTube. Like there's a whole other
Right.
like
Yeah, I would.
master's degree in how to.
When
make
you sent
good
it to
YouTube
me, I
content.
thought that we were actually talking about how to do
Yeah.
better in YouTube. I was like, oh, there's controversy around what he's saying here. Okay.
So here's another thing. 2 things, and it's something that I think that, like I said, I can only compare to the things I've done in the past, but willingness to learn.
Mm.
Like, I think if you want to be at the top of your game, you want to be that A player, as he suggests, you have to have a willingness, a desire, like an unquenchable thirst to learn.
Right.
I have had employees in the past that literally told me that I sat down in a meeting asking me for more money. And I don't know if it was a threat or like, I don't think they meant it that way, but the meeting was literally about them wanting a raise. And they looked me in the eye and said, I feel like I've learned all I need to learn for the amount of money you're paying me. And I was like, the fuck you talking about? Like, you're a web developer, a web designer, web developer. There's literally an unlimited amount of things to learn, and it will change tomorrow. Daily. So if you stop learning, you will not be here anymore. This is what I told them. If you stop learning, you will not be here anymore. And not only that, you will not be able to be hired anywhere else because you will not know how to do the shit in your professional, like your profession. Yeah. And they cried and left. But like,
yeah, I know.
I was beside myself in that scenario. I was like, what? Like, you're telling me you don't think you're not making enough money from me, so you shouldn't learn anymore. You're not going to learn to punish me somehow. Like, I don't understand how that punishes me.
You're punishing both of us.
Yeah. You know, when I explained the reality, it's like, well, we only make so, like,
right.
We're at where we are. Also, you're like an intern, essentially. Like, the plan isn't for you to stay here forever.
Right.
The plan is where your stepping stone, which I was pretty clear about that, from day one. But,
well, I've told you what
I think so go ahead.
I've told you what I told my employees. I tell them at their reviews. I tell them this probably more than I should, to where it sounds like I'm telling them to leave. But I tell them all the time, like, I want you to be working on something that you can put on your resume.
Yeah.
So that it does 2 things. One, when you leave here, and you will leave here, that it's something that you can point to and go, I did that. And I had to learn in order to get to a point to where I could do that. And that's the thing that I did. And I'm proud of it. And then they kind of look at me, they used to look at me and go kind of like what are you saying? And I look back at them and go, if you do that thing that you can point out to and say how good it is and you're proud of it, guess what? You've helped me. Because you've done something good that we can all point to and go, look at how awesome that is.
For sure.
But you have to be able to you have to be willing to learn in order to get to that point where, you just do that. I mean,
not all jobs, not all careers are the same.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the responses and critiques of this and stuff that I'm seeing, it's like everything's equal. I want to make that clear, and I feel like we have since we first started, but like, it's not all jobs and all careers are equal.
Right.
They just aren't.
Yeah.
It just seems obvious to me, but I don't think it is to most people. Another one here, and I go into what you and I worked on together, but he says that you should also really try to watch every MrBeast video on all the channels. Sounds obvious, but I've asked multiple people this week what they thought about last week's gaming video, and not a single person had seen it yet. If that were me, I would have probably lost my shit. It's like, this is literally the thing you do and you haven't watched it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we were really good at producing web design conferences when we were, because we were consuming the lifestyle.
We're doing it the very next day.
Yeah, we were we enjoyed them, we went to them, we consumed them, we were in the world, and we were able to really produce.
Right. And
things.
you know what the best talks were? I still think they weren't the thought leadership talks. They were the talks that somebody told you how to do something.
Oh,
so that you
yeah.
could take it like,
dude. Yeah.
that was something that we did in the messaging all the time. Like, you should be able to take what you get from these speakers and use it the very next day in your job. If you can't, then we've done it wrong.
I know. I know. The other, let's see. So there's a lot of discussion about communication, and I learned some stuff about communication, and I also want to be clear. I'm not reading this from a sense of like, this is what I would want my employees. I read a lot of this and I think that I should be like this.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm going to, like, there's a section on communication. Let's say you're in production and a video you're assigned to is put up 45 days out. A lot of things need to happen before you can start working on it. It's understatement. But you're talking about the creative team or the director or whatever. Do not just go to them and say, I need this creative. Let me know when it's done. Or I need a thumbnail. Let me know when it's done. Right? So like, he's talking about communication in project management, I guess, in a way, because he's talking about like communicating when there's a bottleneck, when there's an issue, and particularly when there's a person who's a bottleneck. Yeah. And bottleneck doesn't necessarily mean it's not always a bad thing. It can mean that there's one person on your team that's really freaking good at doing this one thing. Like, Aaron always needs to do this one thing because every time he does it, it's the best in the world. Right. Because again, let's talk about that. Yeah, they're the best in the world.
Right. They are the A team, a person.
So if this person does thumbnails, you can read the document and see how important thumbnails are. He's got a whole chapter on it. And there's one person that's really, really good at doing thumbnails, and you want that person to do it. It's a bottleneck, but it's not it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just because it takes it. So he says, I want you to look them in the eyes and tell them they are the bottleneck, and take it a step further and explain why they are the bottleneck. So you both are on the same page. Tyler, you are my bottleneck. I have 45 days to make this video happen, and I cannot begin to work on it until I know what the contents of the video is. I need you to confirm you understand this is important, and we need to set a date on when the creative will be done.
Task, condition, standard.
The second part,
I've heard this before.
The second part to this. Now let's say Tyler and you agree it will be done in 5 days. In all caps, you do not get to set a reminder for 5 days and not talk to him for 5 days. Every single day, you must check in on Tyler. Make sure he is still on track to hit the target date. I want less excuses in this company. Take ownership and don't give your project a chance to fail. Check in daily. Period. Leave. Period. No. Period. Room. Period. For. Period. Error. Period. Like, dude.
What? I keep going back. I really would like to know where people are finding fault with. Again, everything you've read so far, I like. If you don't agree with those things, communication, following up, like, it's hard. It is really hard to communicate.
If really your job is project management.
Yes.
I don't really know what else you would be doing.
I thought, okay. I didn't know who. Yeah. If you're the project manager, then yeah.
Or whatever it is. You're the guy looking for the thing.
Yeah.
That you need from the other guy.
Yep.
What else?
I need the information.
I don't know what else you'd be doing.
Time,
yeah.
With subject matter experts, that like, hey, guess what? I'm the marketing guy. All right.
Yeah.
Do I know what you know about how AI works and how an LLM is formed in order to then be extracted and extruded out so that, you can count the number of R's in a strawberry? No, I don't know those things. I just know that when I put in how many R's does strawberry have, well, until the recent update in OpenAI, it did not know.
Yeah.
It kept telling me the wrong thing. So
Yeah.
So when I'm the marketing dude and I need that information, from somebody, like I need to continually go back and check with them, because guess what? It's not necessarily the most important thing to them. They have other things that
Sure.
they have to deal with.
Especially if
that they
they're
have to
creative
do.
doing a bunch of stuff.
Exactly. Okay.
So I imagine they work on more than one video at a time.
I would imagine so too. But if this video is going out in 45 days, guess what? There's one that's probably going out 15 days before that, and one that's going out 15 days before that,
and
one
12 for the rest of the year,
yeah, exactly. And
for sure.
so, and you may be the project manager on one or three of those, but there might be project managers on multiple.
And let's be clear, this document, I mean, I don't know the exact number, but last time I looked it up, it was like 300 or 400 employees, which kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
But it's a lot. It's a lot of people.
Yeah. That is a lot.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Kind of was like, whoa.
I had no idea.
But on the lines of communication, I wrote communication in all caps and I underlined it. But one of the things he has here is video everything, which we can get into that too. But the example was like, let's say you're looking at a play, like let's say we were scouting a location for a conference and something that we've done, and we usually take a couple pictures. And then you're like, here, Gene, and I'm like, what? I don't understand what these pictures, and I've done that. Like Carl had sent me pictures from a location in Jacksonville, and he's like, yeah, there's a stage here and a back door, and I'm like looking at the pictures, and I'm like, dude, I don't understand this.
No context.
Yeah, so I had him go back and do a video, and I'm like, yeah, he writes video everything. I mean, it makes total sense if you're in a production scenario of producing things like they do. But the point here is, which is more important? That and remember, it's 300 or 400 people. Which is more important? That one person has a good mental grip of something, or that the entire team of 10 people have a good mental grip of something? Which one's more important? Yeah, everybody's kind of on the same team, right?
Exactly.
Say the negatives. So this is something that I felt like you always did really well. Thinking back when we were working together, you wouldn't just tell me like things I wanted to hear. I mean, you would tell me like, well, this
you sometimes.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I wasn't mature enough to handle it at the time, and it probably still would. But like, if a client's mad, like we need to know the disposition of that client before we can really respond or know how fast to respond. Or, there's a big difference between, hey, this thing needs to be fixed, and like, yo, you need to fix this thing right now.
Yeah.
There's a big difference, but the typed message might be the same.
Yeah.
I
think something I always told you, and then something that I then put on my resume after, was I always felt that I was the customer advocate. And that's a very hard position to be in when you're working with creatives.
Yeah. For sure.
Because guess what? Or now engineers, like, because they don't give a fuck.
They do not. They do not.
They just want to make the thing, and they don't want to hear about, what they want the input from the customer at the beginning, and then they want to do the output. And, guess what? There's a whole bunch of steps in between. Maybe it's also that I've been a project manager, that some of this does not surprise me. And I look at it and go, like this doesn't, I don't understand. What is the problem here?
Yeah, it is. And we're going to kind of jump around a little bit, I think. But I think the point is like his example, which is kind of crazy. We never had this cool of a thing, but the example of communicating the negatives, I think, to what you're saying. I found the castle we need for the video, but it's booked all year, over budget, and someone died in it last week. Like, most people would just be like, with the thing with Carl, like, I found the spot. And then it wasn't until we were there that it was like, you found a spot, but it smells like stale beer. The bathroom smells like smoke, and there's homeless guys outside. Like, those are the things we have to overcome. You know what I mean?
Right. So you can't invite me, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So he's got some stuff we'll come back to, but the two other things I wanted to make sure that we covered. All right, so two things. Like one is hang on.
Make you AI this shit next time.
Huh?
I gotta make you AI it.
I just edit it. No, it's buried. It's talking about consultants. Oh yeah, okay. All right, so we're gonna jump around a little bit. One of them is track the contractor. Two things. One was a really interesting thing about working with consultants, but track the contractor. So on the same lines as before, it's not enough just to hire someone, right? And hey, is the contractor, and they'll have it done in a week, and then I don't talk to them until they're telling me that it's not done.
It's just like the creative.
How many times have we encountered that?
Yeah, and then you get you get 3 months down the road,
and it's like, I haven't looked at it yet, or yeah, man, there's this problem that you didn't solve, and I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, why didn't you tell me that a month ago?
Yeah.
Like, that was a pretty important part of all of this. Another thing that I think people got upset with, they kind of, I saw some of the comments on this one channel, which clearly is just a MrBeast hate channel, but wish there were a bunch of those actually.
Yeah.
But is
you're doing something
he's
right,
explaining, then. You need to understand the world I live in. You need to understand me. Right. I mean, do you not see that the company's called MrBeast and that his name is MrBeast? Like, I mean, what do you think you were getting into here? Basically running 4 channels at a high level, better than anyone else in the world. Blah, blah, blah. He's got a bunch of stuff, which I think a lot of people just took as ego stroking, but I think he's just telling you all the stuff he's got going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Okay.
He is MrBeast.
Read some of it.
Basically 3 full-time jobs all by itself. Little things like, hold on. I have to be the main talent for every gaming video, every Reacts video, every philanthropy video, every TikTok we make, every Instagram post, and every main channel video we post. Which is basically 3 full-time jobs all by itself. He says they run the YouTube channel, like 3 YouTube channels, a reaction channel. They basically run a linguistics company because they convert all their stuff into a different language, and they do consulting work for that too.
Yeah.
So it's not just theirs; they actually do work for other people. He is the main face of the business. People are like, "You're Mr. Important." Like, well, he is kind of the face of all that stuff. Like they have a food company and a chocolate bar company on top of it. Yeah, Beast Burger and Feastables.
Yeah,
I still have to set the vision and be the lead creative. On top of all that, we dub our blah blah blah. I also, multiple times a week, I have to call other YouTubers and see what they're doing, so I make sure we don't miss anything. Yeah, you want me networking as much as possible.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually bring this into. I know I sometimes talk around the things that we do within our foundation, but this specifically, I can relate to on the employee side because, like our executive director for our foundation, he is the executive director there. He's also general manager of another foundation. And the thing is like with our foundation, he was the first person. He basically started it, spearheaded everything, and was able to transition it from one thing into a new version of a foundation 2 years later, and then it was bought by a larger foundation 2 years after that, and then we've continued to build and ramp up since then. So when you talk about bottlenecks,
yeah. He's
a bottleneck, just like now now that I've, fucked up to move up type thing.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a bottleneck as
yeah.
well, but he's a bottleneck. He's also the face of the company, and he went on paternity leave this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I wish we would have had that when, I was working anywhere.
Sure.
But and things that happened this year is that he wasn't as much of the face of the company, because it was true. Like we do a conference, guess who's the
Mhm.
MC? Now,
Yeah, sure.
next week I'm doing a conference in New York. He's going to be the MC because he still is the face of the company. He
Mhm.
was the entrepreneur that brought this from
Yeah.
smoke and mirrors to where it is now,
Yeah.
which is not smoke and mirrors.
And why should he go away?
Exactly. And, so I can, and there have been times as an employee that I'm like, God, like, why does everything have to run through him? Why does everything filtered through him? Or why, I don't think I've ever thought, as the marketing person, why does he have to be the face of the company? Because I don't
Yeah.
want to be the face of the company.
Right.
I would rather be I would rather be behind the curtain, pulling the levers.
Yeah.
But, but I have thought about, like, is it right that he's the face of the company and we have to feature him in everything? Can we feature other people too?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I found out we can feature other people because we had to sometimes.
Oh, sure.
But when it comes down to it, like, communicating with members and board and things like that, guess who they listen to more than me, than anybody else in the company?
Right.
They listen to him.
Well, yeah.
And
he's been there since the beginning.
If I don't have him networking
Yeah.
at the conference,
Yeah, right.
and guess what? We don't
Yeah.
make any money.
Yeah.
We don't retain members.
Right.
We don't, bring in new ones.
Yeah.
If I have him on stage, like, I don't know about you, but I don't know how many conferences that are not yours that you've been to, but I will tell you this, that I have probably seen in 17 years, like 5 talks.
Sure. Yeah. If you're running the thing, it's hard to do the
exactly.
other parts. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
we were at a conference one time and that he was speaking and I was supporting on, and, like we got to the end, we're like, somebody asked us, one of the conference organizers, like, oh, would you like the best? And I'm like, fuck, I gotta lie. But it's like, if I don't have him networking, and if I don't have him, as the face of the company,
Mhm.
being the face of the company, like, that's your job.
Yeah.
And so, so if that's grandstanding and if that's, saying, look at me, well, guess what? Then you don't understand the role of an entrepreneur. You
Yeah.
don't understand.
You are
the
there
role
to
of
support
the
his
head.
creative endeavors.
Exactly.
That's why he's employing you.
Right. And then your benefit is not that you are him.
I know.
Your benefit is that,
I know.
we hope that you have a stable, position,
Yeah.
that you become rich, you become wealthy,
Yeah.
you have all the things in your life
That's the idea.
that you want and need to. And, like, if you had a better idea, then you probably should have fucking done it.
Yeah. Start your own channel.
Exactly.
I figured you'd. All right. So there's another part here. There's a lot of stuff in here. Critical components. And he's talking about identifying the critical component that's going to make a video successful. But, videos aside, I think it's an important exercise for you to do to identify what is the critical component of a project you're working on.
Or anything.
Yeah. Like, that's super important to know, like, the whole reason why we're doing the thing and protect that one thing.
Right.
I feel like I've been in a lot of corporate meetings where things just get off track, and that's probably a shortcoming of mine, where I start to kind of lose my mind when we're talking about things that aren't sort of critical. Sure. I'm like, I don't care. Like, just send me a note and I'll do it later. Like, why am we in this meeting talking about this thing that's not consequential at all? That's a shortcoming of mine. But but I think the flip side of that is you do need to identify the most critical aspect of what's going to make something successful and protect it at all costs.
Yeah. I think sometimes you also find that, thinking about resumes, and also like my daughter just applied for something recently, and she had to like highlight leadership things that she's done in certain positions. And you know, like something that we had to help her figure out was what was like,
Mhm.
you know, she kept going, well, everybody's the same, nobody has a leadership position. I'm like, yeah, but what are the critical leadership things that you can pull out of what you did? And sometimes a good exercise that I found, you know, through journaling and things like that, is to go and write, you know, like write those things down. What is the critical thing
Yeah.
that is important to what you're doing?
Yeah, it's the mission.
You know, he obviously spent some time doing that.
Yeah, literally talking about the content of a video,
Right.
the hook.
Right.
You know, it's I think with like a movie or show or like whatever, you know, we did it with conferences. We're always like, this is the critical,
Right.
like dog years of the day. Everything's built around that.
Yep.
So we got to make sure we take care of those people.
Mhm.
You know, like that's how we did that.
Right. But also, you know, I don't know about you, but I mean, like every Ted Lasso episode of first, especially
Yeah,
first season,
yeah.
like there was always the hook, and
Yeah.
it was always something that was said towards the end,
Yeah.
and then I fucking welled up with tears every
Yep.
single episode
They wrote it
because
was good, right?
because there was always something that it wasn't necessarily the what is it in a story, it wasn't always the climax of the story.
Yeah.
But I think is actually usually in the denouement. That it's what happens right after the climax before the end, which
Yeah.
is the I'm going to put it as the explanation and the application
Sure.
of what all of that
Yeah,
meant.
yeah.
And that thing right there, that's the fucking hook.
Yep.
And that is the thing that people go, oh
Yeah.
fuck, you know, that got me.
Closes
That, like,
the book.
you
Mhm.
know, the little boy says to his
Mhm.
dad, you know, whatever it is, and then you go, oh, you know, and then you cry, and then, you know, then you watch the next episode. But understanding that, and sometimes starting with that hook or that thing at the end, that's going to the critical thing that's going to make everything understandable. You know, I almost think that that's probably where you start in, you know, whether it's a 1 hour video, a 1 minute video. You know, you got
to have the thing.
I think I told you a while back, I watched, you know, there's some like 19-year-old that she's amazing in figuring out how to do these 1 minute videos that like everything has, you know, this number of seconds for this and this number of seconds.
Right.
And, but
well, their production is kind of at that level.
Exactly. And, you know, so coming to the critical thing, identifying it and identifying, you know, exactly what that is within your project, within, you know, what you're trying to put on a resume.
Tell the story you're trying to tell.
It's true.
Like, yeah.
That.
I mean, the other one, communication lines. It is very important as a company we maintain proper communication lines on set and off set. There's always someone responsible for everything on the video, and if multiple people are responsible for the same thing, then that's a problem. It needs to be fixed immediately.
Yeah.
I highlighted this one. Ideally, when communication across departments, you go up and then over. If you skip and just go below, you must then call and let the people in charge know. He's got a whole scenario, sounds like a real life scenario about cooking sandwiches with lava, which is, of course, in a MrBeast
that
video.
Totally
but
makes sense.
He's talking about, like, you know, you told the creative this, and then they didn't say anybody else, so they've been working on this, but they haven't been working on the thing that their boss asked them for. And their boss comes and asks them for it, and they haven't done it, and they say, "Well, it's because he told me to do this," and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
I'm not.
And it just goes all over the place.
I'm not going to say which company I worked for, but
yeah,
I've seen that skip happen before, and so I've had to step in and be a bottleneck on purpose because of things like that.
Yeah.
So I get that too.
Yeah.
What is the problem here? Is he just an asshole?
I don't know.
I mean, is that the
So there's another one. These are good shit, man.
Yeah.
Creativity saves money. I don't think it comes as a surprise when I say we don't have unlimited money. Come on, MrBeast, you have unlimited money. So he has this really cool example about creativity. So here's an example I use all the time with our gaming team. He's got the whole gaming video thing. They love to give away money every video. But which sounds cooler to you as a prize for a gaming video? $20,000 or a year supply of Doritos?
Year supply.
And he goes through the math here to where the year supply of Doritos is like $1,800.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just saved us,
right,
$18,000 or whatever. It's like, that's creativity. It looks better on camera.
Right.
I feel like we always did a good job of that with because we literally didn't have the money, but
did not have the money, but
so we used what we had.
Yeah, wild people with design, wild people with you worked relationships in order to get people to come, and then worked their relationships with people in order to get them to speak. The design that Geo used to do as far as the creative element of it in order to make it feel like it wasn't like the rest of the.
We didn't have money for advertising, so we had to create ways to make people want to come look at this thing.
Is that one big conference that we competed against still going?
Well, I don't know which one.
I don't want to say the words.
Say it. They don't watch this video.
Okay, true. An event apart.
Oh no, they're out of business.
Okay, well, fuck them.
Yeah. Well, their whole business. They're event apart, a book apart, a list apart. They're all gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. Because I did like the books.
It is. They were a great resource. For
no, they were, and it's just more of a when I saw their events, they were like
the top echelon of quality, or at least everyone thought that.
And to me, anyway, it's aesthetic that didn't jibe with me, I guess. But our aesthetic was, it's cool. It's
memorable.
Yeah.
People still talk about it.
Yeah. And I'll say that, there was one point that I think it was after I was not there, that I worked for a company that was your client. And the one thing that we both had to convince trying to get my words right here. We both had to convince the person who was making the final decision on this creative that we were doing, was that it was okay to be creative and cool, even in a business setting.
Right.
And you may know of who I'm speaking
I know
at this point. And that the funny thing is, because of continuing to push that, then that particular business has taken off with that. And many years later, that's their fucking cornerstone.
Yeah, right. It's kind of funny. And we just kind of
exactly
fluffed it off like dandruff.
Yeah.
In terms of an idea.
Where was the start of that? What was the thing behind it, that going back to the MrBeast, what was creative? Yeah.
Oh, have creative solutions. Yeah.
Creative solutions.
Yeah. Don't just spend money.
We came up with creative solutions in order to not smoke and mirror it, but make it seem something bigger than it is.
Yeah. The mission was to sell out our event. We wanted to sell every seat in the place out, and we did by just making things look cooler than other people did.
Yeah. And
I mean, I'm proud of that.
Melanie still has still has the Converge shirt that has the hummingbird on it.
Oh yeah.
And it finally, because that was what, 2012, 2013. It finally had some holes right here, and she ripped off the sleeves, and it has this sleeveless shirt when we work out.
I might be able to find some of those. All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Always have a backup day. That's common project management stuff. So he's talking about building a buffer between the due date and when you're bringing shit to the set, whatever.
Well, that and have an artificial due date for everything.
Yeah.
So that you have time to QA it and figure out what you have to do in order to get it.
We learned that the hard way producing events, and that you don't go check the place for video and audio the morning of the thing. You do that the day before.
Yeah. I just sent an email out to thousands and thousands of people this morning.
Yeah.
And I wrote it yesterday, and I, at least I have people in Europe that work for me that, they went through everything this morning, QA'd and told me what I got wrong and everything. And, but I've told them that I would rather have a day or two that those emails that go out to thousands and thousands of people, can sit there and marinate, and we can come back to and go, oh, maybe we shouldn't have put that out there, because you know what?
Right.
Like, I sometimes love HubSpot, but I really hate it when you hit the cancel button on an email, and guess what? That cancel button is like fake.
Yeah.
It doesn't really
Yeah.
work. So
No, it doesn't. No.
I hit it. I'm like, keep hitting it.
Once it's in, it's on.
Yeah. Anyway.
Don't take anything at face value. I'm interested to see what you think about this one. Because I have my opinions here, but don't take anything at face value. Always dig. One of the common themes you're probably seeing in this document is accountability. This will double down on that. Don't take anything at face value. Always dig. This is important when dealing with someone for production. So the example, and I'll read the example because I think it's interesting. If someone says something too good to be true, find out why. If it's fishy, investigate. Example, if you need 10,000 pillows by next week, you've called 10 pillow companies and none have more than a few hundred in stock, but then the 11th company magically has 10,000 pillows. You should investigate. Are they drop shipping? Are the pillows shitty? Why the fuck does no one want to use your pillows? Push and get answers. What tends to happen is people think their job is done by just finding the 10,000 pillows and just order them, only for us to find problems with them when we're in the middle of production, essentially. Right? So do not overly trust people outside the company. Investigate and verify what they say, or it is your fault if they don't pull it through. Right? So what do you think?
Well,
not as an example. His example's pretty wild. But
it is awesome. It really goes into the, that's interesting. Well, I think first of all, that particular thing goes back to the identify the negatives.
Yeah. Right.
So it's kind of building on top of that.
Be thorough.
Right. But yeah, like,
I can't tell you how many times I work with a consultant, contractor, whatever term you want to use, to build something, and they've delivered it to me and it's not done. Yeah. Like, they've delivered it to me with bugs, even though I'm the middleman and they know there's another client. They are relying on me to do some QA or to catch things or whatever. And so to me, that's like a canary, not really a canary in a coal mine metaphor, but like, it pisses me off because I'm like, I am your client, motherfucker. Like, why are you delivering me subpar work? Well, you're relying on you. Like, that's not how this works. And I've been told that's overly demanding. I'm like, but you're the contractor. Like, I'm going to check behind you, right? I'm going to check behind you because it's my job. Yeah. I'm not just going to blindly, like, whatever you give me, just give to the client and be like, there you go. I mean, it's not drop shipping here. Right. Like, but why are you giving me a subpar product? And I'm not picking on anybody in particular, but like, I mean, it's happened like a dozen times over the years. Yeah. Like, yeah, if you're responsible for pulling something off and you hire someone and they suck at it, I'm still responsible. Yeah. Like, yeah, there's, I think I mentioned it a while back. There's something called and I don't have my notes with me this time, but the RACI, RACI, yeah. And it's basically talking about, who's accountable, who are responsible, accountable. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And probably I understand responsible and accountable because that's what we talk about all the time. I think informed and something else with the C. Yeah. But the responsible is your contractor, I believe. The accountable though is you. Because guess what? Yeah. Like because I'm not, when I explained that, when I read this, I read it with the lens of I'm a business owner. Right. This is probably our solving problems. This is probably our problem. I'm not reading it as an employee. Yeah. But what's the difference? I mean, in terms of you doing your job, like if I'm employed to do this thing, I'm going to do it the best I can. Yeah. Like I don't. Back in June. So I don't know, boss. They just didn't get it done. What are you talking about? Back in June, we were at a conference. We had something happen that something went out communications wise that had the wrong information in it. And it should not have gone out, but it was extreme circumstances, going at
4 a.m. working on things in another
Sure.
country type thing. Anyway, it was all set up for failure.
Yeah.
Honestly. However, at the end of the day, even though I didn't do what happened,
Mhm. You still own it.
that when we came to the end of the week,
Yeah.
when it was time to talk to the entire team, including my boss,
Yeah.
at no point did I look at anybody on my team and say, well, this happened because this, and this happened because this.
Mm-hmm.
All I did is I looked at the entire team and I said, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for that. I'm accountable for that. And, here's what we're going to do to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And everything that you've missed the things that are scathing in there so far.
I don't know that I have.
Exactly. But as a business owner, as a manager, as somebody who gives a shit about what I do on a daily basis, that I look at everything in there and I go, yeah, I can understand. Well,
Yeah.
the thing is, like, I can understand his pain in putting those into words. And, I don't even want to make a statement about, like, today's society and kids these days, and I've heard it. I've had it, come up to me many
Yeah.
times of like, well, like somebody said to me, recently about something that happened. They're like, yeah, well, today's generation couldn't take that. And I'm like,
I don't think they could. Let me read this. Own your mistakes. You segued into it perfectly.
yeah.
It's a little bit of a read, but I want you to hear it.
Mhm.
I hate excuses, and I despise with my entire soul when people just try to save face instead of learn from how they messed up. Mistakes are okay. Genuinely, they are, and I expect you to make a lot. That's perfectly fine. Every veteran here has cost me $1 million at one point or another. And you can go ask them yourself if I ever held it over their heads. The reason I'm okay with fuck ups is because I know that's how you learn. I see it as me investing in you, in your brain. Hence why I have zero tolerance for C players, and they must go immediately. Those fuck ups could be done by an A player that will retain the information learned. I just beg you that you learn from every mistake and try not to repeat it. That's when it gets annoying. I've never, ever, ever once fired someone on the spot for messing up. You have nothing to be afraid of. Own shit so we can address how to fix it and then move on. I would literally tell an employee that same thing.
Yeah.
Am I an asshole? You can tell me.
I don't, well, okay. I know
I'm an asshole.
I can tell you for sure, reading an email that came to me this morning that asked about something that person never read a single email that I've sent to them for the past 8 weeks. Based on what I got, I'm like, oh, okay. So let's go with the premise.
You're hitting on all the points here.
Well, okay, but let's go with the premise that nobody fucking reads.
Yeah.
That, if I read the very first part of that, and then, a couple other things that somebody else highlights because they pulled it out, is pull quotes are great.
Yeah.
Because you can make somebody, just like statistics, you can make somebody look like an asshole. You can make them look like a hero.
Lies, statistics, and damn lies.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yes. About not reading.
It is higher form of communication. It is very important you know when to call people for stuff, grab them in real life, and when to just text them. The lower the form of communication, the more miscommunication you will face.
I hate text. I swear to God, that's something that I argue about with people all the time. Like, well, what do they mean by this? I'm like, or why are you offended about the thing that somebody texts you?
Yeah.
You have no context as to what they meant.
I know.
And and I hate talking to people on the phone, honestly. However,
the more complex what needs to be said is, the higher the form of the communication you need to use. Why is this a bad thing? Since we are on the topic of communication, written communication also does not constitute communication unless they have confirmed they've read it.
Have you seen
I love that one.
Yes. 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 What did I say?
Yeah, I know. That was a good one.
You understood what I said?
Repeat
What
it back
did I
to me.
say?
Repeat it back to me.
But have you ever, listened to a 15-year-old on the phone?
Yeah. Oh, I've talked to. Yeah.
Or talked to?
Yeah. I've actually worked with my boys to like better communicate on the phone.
And I have not, and I'm not just talking about my kids. I just in general, like they're more comfortable texting, I think, the younger they are. And, and for a certain amount of things that is okay. But I think he's right that, and I'm sure. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a sign at a pool that says "Do not dive for risk of, drowning." Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a sign everywhere that says you will die because of this. Because why?
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody died doing that exact thing that they're telling you not to do.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah.
My thought is he's saying these things because there are things that he's directly experienced with his employees to where like he's had to go back and go, well, did you call them and find out if this blah, 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 blah? No, I texted him. Okay. Did you call them though? No, I sent a Slack message. Yeah, but did they understand what you were asking them?
Probably not.
Well, probably not.
Yeah.
Well, to me, at that point, that is your fault.
Yeah.
And that is not their fault because they did not if you knew in your heart that they did not understand what you were asking them, but you let it go, you didn't do you didn't do the job the entire way through.
It's on you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's other things in here, consultants and stuff. I recommend you go read. Mm-hmm. I think one of the ones that I've seen that people have gotten, trying to find ones that people might have issues with, but this one is that no does not mean no.
Well,
so he's talking about when you're dealing with people outside of the company, like no, you can't film here. That doesn't mean no. Find out a way to make it happen is what he's saying. And people are like, you're teaching people to be obstinate or like mess with people. And I'm like, we're talking about producing a video. Like, I mean, we've tried to do things we weren't supposed to do. I mean, it's like, I feel like a lot of this, if this were put out by Steve Jobs in the 80s, we would be like, we would be like putting him on we'd be like, he's a fucking pirate. We love it.
Yeah. Well,
like the man flew a pirate flag over the area of the company he was working in while he was literally stealing employees from the other departments. Right. Like, and I know a lot of people don't like him and stuff, but we look back on him as a hero.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the same stuff.
I was gonna ask you earlier, and then we went a different direction. But I was gonna ask you earlier, like all of these things. If this was a CEO at, you pick the top tech company right now that's like killing it. If this is the CEO at a top tech company that has investors in it, that is, a public company, and, I mean, think about Southwest Airlines, when they first came out, we've got this incredible CEO that, is just, we've got this vision.
Yeah, right.
But this guy's a YouTuber. All right. I mean, think about the context of what we put him in. Like,
it was going to die.
When you said 300 employees, I was like, I really thought
it's more than that. But
okay. But that's when I go, oh, okay. This guy, like he is feeding people.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is feeding families from what he does.
He's not paying them $20,000 a year. It's like, they're making bank.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
And so yeah, if this was Steve Jobs, forget Steve Jobs. If you compared this person to a, let's say that he makes $1 billion a year. If there's another company that's making $1 billion a year, but it's a public company, or a quote unquote legitimate company that works with other legitimate companies, you don't think of him as the same thing. But this dude, some random YouTuber that got lucky, that's bullshit. So, like, I already said, I don't follow his work, like other people do, and that, but I have, again, I kind of know some of the story, and definitely did read this, but you know what? Like, put in the comments for this video, like, what the fuck did he say that was so wrong? Is there something else that's outside that you're like,
There's another section here. I don't know. There's another section here. It's the final part. We've gone for an hour here, but
this is where he hates everybody and hates all this.
there's a bunch of other things, that I've seen people pull out and kind of throw them under the bus for.
Mhm.
There's the very last section, chapter 4, your career, where he talks about like things like, we don't have yearly reviews. We do whenever the fuck you want reviews. If you want to become a production manager, tell James your intention and ask him why you suck and how you can become better. Seriously, he'll give you a list of things you need to improve. It's like, that's not legitimate. Like, that's not how a company is legitimately done. That would insult me. I'm like, you should probably leave, because it sounds like they don't have time for that shit.
I would like to work for him.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's also because I've done a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And I feel like I get it. You have 300 or 400 people. The CEO guy in top probably shouldn't be talking like this. You know what I mean? But he's also the talent in the shows. And if you've seen him, he's a goofy motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
What do you expect? You know what I mean? Like, if I go to work for Steve, he's gone. But if I went to work directly in a creative role with Steve Jobs, he's probably going to be a dick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by every account.
You know what I mean? Like, he's probably going to treat me wrong a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I get to work with Steve Jobs on shit that changes the universe.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And so there's a section here. There is infinite room for you to grow here. This isn't a stepping stone. This is your final destination. We will win, and we are going to build something amazing. I mean,
okay.
Like,
I'm in. Where do I sign up?
Yeah.
Like, listen, if
I think people are just insulted by it.
Well, first of all, they don't read. Second of all, they pull quotes and they listen to other, like they are to us. That's why I said read what he said to you.
Yeah.
They listen to other people to get their opinions on somebody else.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
But I read through that thing. I also read the article that you sent.
Yeah, that guy pulled a bunch of stuff out.
Yeah, and but there's like I see no fault in, like, if you're passionate about that, then I'm telling you what my passion is. I'm telling you, like, do I expect you to work 100 hours a week?
How awesome would it be for you? Let's say you go work for, I don't know how many people work in the company you work at right now. How many employees is there in the employ of
4?
Okay. So what if you went to work for a company with 400 people,
mm-hmm.
and somebody gave you literally the playbook on how to be the boss of that place? You'd be kind of appreciative. I mean, I would.
There's so many things I want to say right now that I can't.
But I mean, like, in a way, it's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
He's giving you the roadmap here.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I'm going to mine this for how to make my YouTube stuff better. But
yeah.
Because there's half, that's what we went through. There's like 3/4 left of it. That's just like
mm-hmm.
data and how to make thumbnails and how to study YouTube algorithms and stuff. But I mean, I don't know that I am so negative, looking at it so negatively. And some people, there's a few people that are. I encourage everyone to go get it and read it.
Yeah, my gut reaction when you tell me that people actually had problems with this is I just want to call everybody let's just say a wimp, or a wussy, or but
I really tried hard not to have that outlook.
But then but I do. Here's where I try to see the other side of it, which is like, go to the employee side. Is there anything in there that you're like, oh my God, like, if he would have said, And let's say that this is the in practice. He's preaching and he does what he's supposed or what he says in practice. So if you fuck up and the 10,000 pillows are not there, because you didn't follow through, and he does not fire you, while you're there. All right. Let's say that he actually follows through, and he's really pissed off because you didn't do your job.
I know.
Properly, and swears, and let's take it to a point to where
if he actually is a dick.
Well, is a dick.
I mean, he might be.
But if he gets to a point to where he's borderline demonstrative.
Yeah. Maybe he is.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to think of what do you have issue with? Is if you get to that point to where is demonstrative and basically says, you should have never been born.
Well,
that type of thing. But I'm not going to fire you. I'm just going to keep you here so that I can make sure that your life is fucking hell.
Yeah. That's
okay.
Different. Sure.
That's different. But if it is, pretty close to what he says there, which nobody is.
Yeah.
These are ideals, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But if he's pretty close to what he says there, and at least, 80% of the time, I'm sorry, all the words that I want to say is, I really don't want to say them.
Yeah. I mean,
because okay, I'm just going to start calling you're a C player.
Yeah.
You're a C player. If you take offense to absolutely everything that was in there, and you can't build on top of that and go, what is the good in this? What can I take from this? Whether it's, working there or not working there.
If you want to work for the top, internet, it's across the internet. It's not, YouTube, stuff's mostly on YouTube, but it's the top media production on the internet of all time. Probably will ever be as long as he's doing it.
Sure.
You're going to have to work with a guy. It's him.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you expect.
His company.
Yeah. It's but even outside of that, it is the top. There's nothing else.
Yeah. Listen, if he's doing illegal, I worked with somebody who I love to death, but when he got slapped with,
well, you work for Dove Charney. How you pronounce the last name? Charney. You work for Dove Charney.
Yeah.
That's like the
and if you read
all time,
if you read the Vanity Fair articles and look at the actual history of thing, that's who I was actually talking about.
Yeah,
I love Dove to death.
Yeah.
But
very
when I read the things that I read about him, I'm like, yeah. I can see all of those things too.
If you've listened this far, you're an hour and a half in or whatever, just and you disagree, let me know. Let me know where to find it.
I'd love to know what
I would
read.
I really would
read the thing. Where are the problems? And if you looked at it as again,
I'm not saying you're wrong.
If he does illegal things to where you have to sue him for something.
Yeah, that's
that has happened to people I've worked with.
I'm sure he has.
Then,
you're not at the level he's at with 400 employees and you're not fucking something up.
But also, here's the one thing that occurred to me too. If you actually worked in that organization and you read this thing and you're like, this is bullshit. They don't practice what they preach. Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't see everything and you're not privy to everything and something doesn't filter down to you because you have a shitty manager or something like that.
Who knows?
But listen, if you don't work at that company, what do you have a problem with this?
Yeah, I know.
I just want to be angry about something.
I know.
But and
this person,
no reason.
This person, let me find it here. I'll say her name.
Do it.
What is her
name? Name them.
I don't know if the most riled up was this Rosanna Panzio, whatever. She's got 14.5 million subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
She's a whole video channel thing about how much she hates MrBeast, but she's clearly a hater.
Okay.
But it's I look at this. Welcome to my channel. I'm Rosanna, and I really enjoy creating content for YouTube. And it's like, what? I mean, I'm running a podcast here and stuff, and I'm talking about a thing and mentioning her, but like that, if you've listened to this is not what we do here, it's just, what do you like? I think a lot of this is just, it's the top of the game, and it's easy shots you can take.
Oh yeah.
And it's like that with a lot of shit right now, even like political campaigns.
Yep.
We're talking about Trump. I mean, I'm not a Trump supporter, but like, it's pretty easy to take shots at him.
Yeah.
And if you look at anything on social media or whatever, you cannot get enough of it right now.
Right.
I think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
The same thing. I think if you can look at this, remove all of that, and just take it at face value, I think there's a lot to learn in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both.
And there you have
the facts of life.
If you are like a Jocko fan, like I am, and you've read his Extreme Ownership, I mean, I see a lot of corollary between the two of those things in this.
And there are people that have problems with Jocko.
There are
people that have problems with.
Yeah, there are. But
it doesn't matter who it is. If you do something really well and you get really renowned for it, guess what?
Yeah, you're gonna have haters.
You're gonna have haters,
for sure.
And
for sure.
But again, like if you can take like 80% of that, distill it down into like a, I would give that to my son and say,
oh, I'm gonna give it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have them read it and see what they think about it. I might even do a
print
show
it out here and drop it off at his house on the way.
I mean,
and
I would be interested to talk to someone who's not,
age.
50 or whatever. I would like to talk to someone who's like 24, 25, have been working for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
In a professional, not like, doing whatever I can, but like a professional person with a, sit down white collar job that they got a college degree to do. I would really love to talk to them about that and see what their perspective is. Some, challenge, read it, get back to me.
Yeah. Cause I even found, when my son, started working at this one place, and then he had an interview recently, and he just got a job after the interview, that like there are things that I've been telling him there are things that I've been telling my kids for years that they actually realize that, I'm not crazy when on those particular things, because like when, in the restaurant industry, I was like, these are the things that you should probably look out for in the restaurant industry. And so he worked in the restaurant industry, and he was like, oh yeah, guess what happened? I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, stay away from the chick that likes fentanyl. I mean, things like that.
Idea.
Yeah.
I'll end with this. And we lost my dad a couple years ago, but the older I get, the smarter my dad gets.
Yeah.
And let's just end there. What you got, man? You got anything else to?
No, I hope I get that smart one day.
Me too, dude.